Some towns are so quiet, you can hear your own footsteps echo. The welcome signs are freshly painted. The streets look calm, almost inviting. But ask a local how long you should stay, and their voice drops. They don't tell you scary stories. They don't explain. They just say things like, you should probably keep moving or don't be here after dark. That's what makes these places unsettling. Not legends. Warnings. Subscribe now because these are the stories most people never hear until they stumble into them. These towns aren't creepy because of ghosts or myths. They're creepy because something real went wrong and never got fixed. Factories closed and never came back. Isolation turned neighbors into strangers. Old conflicts were ignored instead of resolved. And in some places, power slowly concentrated in the hands of a few people no one questions. If you travel, explore back roads, or think about relocating for cheaper living, this matters. Because when a place feels off, it's often your instincts noticing patterns long before facts catch up. Today, we're counting down the top 10 creepiest small towns in the United States, starting at number 10 and working our way to number 1. You'll hear about a town locals refuse to explain, a town shaped entirely by one belief system, and a place where people disappear quietly without headlines. Stay until the end, because number 1 isn't abandoned or historic. It's active right now. Small towns don't become unsettling overnight. It happens slowly. First, the population shrinks. Schools close. Streets empty. Then the economy collapses, leaving only those who can't afford to leave. Oversight fades. Rules become flexible. The red flags are subtle. Empty homes, guarded conversations, and the feeling that visitors are being watched, not welcomed. Understanding these signs isn't about fear. It's about awareness. A place is telling you to move on. 10. Centralia, Pennsylvania. The road into this town feels ordinary at first. Trees line the cracked pavement. Mailboxes lean in odd angles, as if waiting for someone who will never arrive. The streets appear normal, almost inviting, but the deeper you go, the heavier the silence becomes. It's not just quiet. It feels like the town itself is holding its breath. Beneath your feet, a coal mine has been burning for decades. Not a blaze you can see, not a fire that announces itself with flames. This is slow, relentless underground combustion, spreading through tunnels no one can fully access. The heat is enough to crack the ground, release toxic gases, and make every step uncertain. It's invisible, but you can feel it in the strange tension in the air, the way the ground seems untrustworthy. Most of the town is gone. Homes have been demolished, streets erased, and addresses exist only on paper. What remains feels paused in time, like life stopped mid-scene. You might imagine children playing or neighbors waving, but the emptiness is absolute. Walking here, it becomes clear. Centralia isn't just abandoned, it's unfinished. On colder days, smoke rises from vents in the ground. No flashing signs, no alarms, just thin streams of steam drifting into the sky. Former residents were offered buyouts years ago. Many accepted and left. Some refused, holding on to family land or refusing to believe the fire could last this long. Today, only a handful of people remain, living alongside danger that outsiders can barely imagine. The unsettling part isn't just the fire. It's the slow disappearance. No single disaster moment. No headline declaring the town's end. Years of decisions, delays, and neglect made staying riskier every year. If you visit, the advice is simple. Stay on marked paths, never assume the ground is solid, and don't mistake silence for safety. Centralia feels alive in a way most ghost towns don't. It's a town that never officially died, never fully let go, and quietly reminds you that some dangers creep in slowly, beneath your feet and under the surface of ordinary life. Every cracked street, every abandoned house, every vent of rising smoke tells the story of a town that chose survival over recognition and warns anyone passing through. Quiet doesn't always mean safe. 9. Slab City, California. Driving into Slab City feels like stepping into another world. The pavement ends, replaced by dust and cracked concrete slabs that were once part of a military base. There are no street signs, no traffic lights, no official rules. The desert stretches in every direction, sun beating down, heat radiating off the cracked earth. You can see makeshift homes, RVs parked haphazardly, and art installations built from scraps, metal, and hope. The place looks alive, but it exists entirely outside the law. This is one of the few communities in the United States where no one enforces rules, and there are no official utilities. Water comes from tanks. Power comes from generators or solar panels. Trash is collected by those willing to deal with it, or it isn't collected at all. There is freedom here, yes, raw, unfiltered freedom, but it comes with constant, unpredictable risk. Accidents, theft, or sudden conflicts can happen without any authorities stepping in. The desert around you is both beautiful and unforgiving, and the people who live here know it intimately. Slab City attracts artists, drifters, snowbirds, and those looking to escape the pressures of conventional society. Some come for the art, some for the community, some for the thrill of living completely untethered. But there is a harsh reality behind the romanticism. Nights are quiet, but not peaceful. The lack of oversight means that one careless mistake or misjudgment could turn dangerous very quickly. Locals warn outsiders not to stay overnight, not because of superstition, but because they understand how thin the line between freedom and chaos can be. Walking through Slab City, you notice the mix of creativity and survival. Murals on walls, sculptures made of discarded tires and scrap metal, colorful signs painted with warnings and philosophy. Every corner tells a story of resilience and independence, but also of isolation and vulnerability. If you visit, you need to prepare. Bring water, plan your route, respect the residents, and understand that help is far away. The true essence of Slab City isn't in the art or the novelty. It's in the lesson it teaches about living without rules. Freedom has a cost, and those who thrive here do so by respecting the land, the people, and the dangers that come with untamed life. For anyone seeking to witness extreme off-grid living, it's a rare glimpse, but it's not a vacation. It's a survival story unfolding in real time, where curiosity must be balanced with caution, and respect can mean the difference between a memorable visit and a disaster. 8 Casadaga, Florida. Driving into Casadaga feels almost ordinary at first. The roads are lined with tall, swaying palms and modest houses, some with picket fences and well-kept gardens. On the surface, it's a quiet Florida town, the kind you might pass without a second glance. But there's a subtle tension in the air, a sense that this place operates under rules most outsiders will never fully understand. Welcome to the self-proclaimed psychic capital of the world. Casadaga is home to a spiritualist community that has been active for over a century. People come from all over the world seeking guidance, readings, and healing from mediums who claim to communicate with spirits. The town thrives on spiritual tourism, yet there is an unease that visitors often fail to recognize. This isn't just a quirky attraction or a lighthearted experience. For the residents, the spiritual work here is serious, structured, and deeply tied to the town's identity. Outsiders underestimate the level of commitment, respect, and etiquette expected, and failing to follow these unspoken rules can quickly mark you as an unwelcome presence. Walking through the streets, you notice small details that hint at this duality of charm and tension. Elegant Victorian homes stand alongside small, secluded cottages. Signs advertise readings and workshops, but the quiet, almost reverent air suggests a place steeped in tradition and secrecy. Locals move with purpose, and while they may smile politely at newcomers, there's a subtle reminder that this town exists on its own terms. If you plan to visit, the advice is simple. Be respectful. Follow the town's customs. Do not treat the spiritual community as entertainment. Ask permission before taking photos, and approach any readings or interactions with sincerity. Even casual jokes about spirits or the afterlife can be taken seriously here, and residents will notice. Casadaga's charm is part of its warning. The town is welcoming, yet it protects its energy and its practices fiercely. The most unsettling aspect isn't any ghost story or legend. It's the sense that this is a community that lives on a different wavelength. Visitors often feel the weight of history and belief pressing quietly against the ordinary. By the time you leave, the town lingers in your mind. You may feel an inexplicable unease or a strange connection. Casadaga teaches a subtle lesson. Not all mysteries are meant to be solved, and respect is the price of curiosity. Ignore it, and the town will remind you of its seriousness in ways you won't forget. 7. Jerome, Arizona. The drive into Jerome winds through steep hills, with sweeping views of the Verde Valley below. At first glance, it looks picturesque. Colorful buildings clinging to the hillside, narrow streets lined with boutique shops and cafes. But this charm masks a far darker history. Jerome was once a thriving mining boomtown, a place where copper fueled both wealth and ambition. The hills echoed with the clatter of machinery, the shouts of workers, and the dreams of families seeking fortune. Then, almost overnight, it collapsed. Mines closed, jobs vanished, and the population plummeted. Homes and businesses were abandoned as quickly as they had been built. Streets that were once filled with life turned eerily quiet, and the town earned a reputation as a ghost town long before it embraced it for tourism. Today, the remnants of its mining past are everywhere. Rusted equipment, crumbling foundations, and buildings that lean at precarious angles serve as constant reminders that the town nearly disappeared entirely. Jerome now thrives on its dark reputation. Tourists flock to explore its historic streets, visit haunted hotels, and hear tales of miners who never returned. The town capitalizes on the stories of past tragedies, offering guided tours that blend history with the supernatural. Yet locals know a truth that most visitors overlook. Not every building is safe. Some structures are unstable, hidden dangers lurking behind faded walls and sagging floors. Residents quietly warn explorers to be cautious, yet many are drawn to the thrill of the unknown, ignoring the real risks. Walking through Jerome, the contrast between charm and danger is palpable. Colorful storefronts, art galleries, and lively cafes coexist with steep drop-offs, crumbling staircases, and buildings that creak with age. The town's history isn't just a story. It's a physical presence, shaping every alley, every hill, every abandoned doorway. You can feel the weight of the past pressing against the present, a reminder that fortune and ruin often exist side by side. If you visit, respect both the history and the hazards. Stick to marked paths, heed local advice, and don't assume that a building is structurally sound just because it looks intriguing. Jerome teaches an important lesson. Beauty can hide decay, and excitement can mask danger. The town's dark past is still alive, warning anyone who ventures there to be cautious, curious, and respectful. In Jerome, the past isn't gone. It lingers, shaping every step and every story in ways you can see and feel. 6. Animas Forks, Colorado. Climbing into Animas Forks feels like entering a forgotten world. Nestled high in the San Juan Mountains at over 11,000 feet, this ghost town sits in breathtaking isolation. The road in is narrow, winding, and unpaved, cutting through jagged peaks and sheer drop-offs. One wrong turn, one miscalculated curve, and the consequences could be fatal. For those unprepared, the journey itself is as dangerous as the town. Animas Forks was once a bustling mining town, built on hopes of striking it rich amid the rugged mountains. Timber-framed homes, saloons, and supply shops once hummed with activity as miners and their families carved a life from the unforgiving terrain. Today it is silent. Roofs sag, walls lean, and wooden walkways groan under the weight of decades. The town is frozen in time, abandoned not by choice but by necessity, as harsh winters and dwindling mines forced residents to leave. The real danger isn't just the altitude, it's the isolation. Weather here changes without warning. A sunny morning can turn into a blizzard by afternoon. Snow can trap visitors for days. Temperatures plummet without mercy, and hypothermia is a very real threat. Roads that seem manageable at first glance become deadly when covered in ice, rock, or mud. Visitors often underestimate how quickly conditions can shift, thinking they can explore without preparation. Walking through Animas Forks, you feel the eerie stillness. The town has no power, no cell service, no services of any kind. Silence dominates, broken only by wind whistling through broken windows and the occasional creek running down the mountainside. It's beautiful, almost cinematic, but it's beauty that demands respect. Locals who know the area warn that it's easy to get trapped or lost, that curiosity can be dangerous, and that the mountains don't forgive mistakes. If you plan to visit, preparation is everything. Bring layers, food, water, and a clear plan for exiting quickly. Respect the structures, many are unstable. Move carefully and always be aware of the weather. The thrill of exploring a high-altitude ghost town is intoxicating, but Onimus Forks teaches that awe and danger coexist. This isn't a place for casual wandering. It's a lesson in humility, in understanding that isolation magnifies both the beauty and the peril of history. Onimus Forks reminds anyone who dares to step inside that the past can be frozen in time, yet it still commands attention, caution, and respect. If you've made it this far, the next towns aren't just creepy, they're uncomfortable. Prepare yourself for secrecy, control, and silence like you've never experienced before. 5. Eureka, Nevada. Driving through Eureka feels like crossing into a place the world forgot. Located along a lonely stretch of highway in central Nevada, it sits isolated between endless desert and distant mountains. The town is small, just a scattering of buildings, a handful of homes, and a main street that feels almost staged, as if it exists for visitors more than residents. For travelers, it's the kind of place that doesn't advertise itself. Yet somehow, everyone who passes through notices something is off. There are very few practical reasons to stop in Eureka. A gas station, a diner, a small inn, that's it. Yet people do. They park, step out, and almost immediately, a sense of unease creeps in. Some describe it as a weight pressing on their chest, a whisper in the wind, or the feeling that they're being observed without anyone visible. The subtle but persistent, the kind of discomfort that stays with you long after you've left. Locals warn outsiders not to linger. Don't stay too long, they say. Move on before the desert notices you. Eureka's history adds to the tension. Once a thriving silver mining town in the 19th century, it experienced sudden boom and bust cycles. Many old structures remain, abandoned and weathered, their facades telling silent stories of hardship, wealth, and sudden decline. Walking the streets, you can almost hear echoes of the past. Workers calling across alleys, the clatter of machinery, children's laughter long gone. The air carries a heaviness, a reminder that this town has seen both life and decay. Visitors often underestimate the isolation. Cell signals fade. Services are minimal. Weather can shift quickly, from dry heat to sudden, biting wind. The town seems harmless at first, but the deeper you explore, the more you notice small details. Doors slightly ajar, windows staring blankly, shadows that don't align with the sun. Every step reminds you this isn't a place built for comfort. It exists on its own terms. If you plan to pass through Eureka, the advice is simple. Keep your stop short. Respect both occupied and abandoned spaces. Don't wander without purpose, and never assume quiet means safety. The real lesson isn't fear, it's awareness. Eureka teaches that isolation can amplify unease, and sometimes the smartest choice is to acknowledge the strangeness and move on. Travelers leave with stories of subtle dread and quiet fascination. They may never explain what they felt, but they remember it. Eureka isn't haunted in the traditional sense. It's a town that watches, waits, and reminds anyone who stops that solitude can be just as unsettling as any ghost. 4. Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Point Pleasant feels like a town suspended between normal life and an unshakable shadow. On the surface, it's a quiet riverside community with small homes, local shops, and tree-lined streets that seem welcoming. But beneath the ordinary lies a history marked by tragedy, a series of events so concentrated that the air itself seems heavier here. Locals will tell you, quietly and often with a wary glance, that the town never fully recovered emotionally. There's a collective memory etched into the streets, the buildings, and the people themselves. The town is perhaps best known for the Mothman legend, a mysterious creature reportedly sighted in the 1960s. But the eerie reputation goes far beyond folklore. In the span of just a few years, disasters struck with unnerving frequency. The collapse of the Silver Bridge in 1967, which claimed dozens of lives, still echoes in the town's consciousness. Houses flooded, small businesses suffered, and families were fractured. It wasn't just the physical loss. It was the way grief seemed to multiply, layering over the community like a weight that never lifted. Residents often describe a persistent unease, a feeling that misfortune lingers just beneath the surface. Walking through Point Pleasant today, you notice small details that hint at the past. Plaques, memorials, and local museums tell the stories of lives lost. But even without them, the sense of vigilance remains. Streets that appear ordinary carry an invisible tension. Everyday conversations occasionally reference the tragedies, as if reminding newcomers to respect the weight of memory. Even annual events meant to celebrate the town's history carry a strange duality, a mixture of pride and acknowledgement of vulnerability. For visitors, the advice is clear: approach with respect. Don't dismiss the legends or warnings as simple folklore. Pay attention to the community's signs of history and grief, and understand that local stories are more than entertainment. They are reminders of how quickly life can shift. Exploring the town isn't physically dangerous, but underestimating the emotional depth of the place can leave you feeling uneasy. Point Pleasant teaches that trauma can shape a town as profoundly as geography or economy. It's a lesson in resilience, remembrance, and the subtle ways collective memory impacts daily life. The town may look ordinary, but beneath the surface, history lingers like a shadow, and those who visit are often struck by the feeling that some stories are too heavy to leave behind. 3. Whittier, Alaska. Driving into Whittier feels like entering a town built for endurance, not comfort. Nestled at the head of a fjord, surrounded by towering mountains and icy waters, it's a place where nature dominates. The first thing visitors notice is the sheer isolation. There's only one road in and out, snaking through tunnels and cliffs, leaving you with the sense that once you enter, turning back isn't easy. The air carries a cold, damp weight, and the wind whispers reminders that this is a town shaped by survival as much as community. Whittier is remarkable and unsettling because nearly the entire population lives under one roof. The Beach Towers, a 14-story concrete building, houses residents, a post office, grocery stores, a clinic, and even a school. Imagine living in a vertical town where every neighbor, every service, and every social interaction exists within a single structure. For those accustomed to personal space or variety in daily routines, it can feel claustrophobic. Privacy is scarce, and the sense of being constantly surrounded by others, combined with the town's isolation, can be disorienting for outsiders. The environment amplifies the challenge. Winters are long, dark, and unforgiving. Snow and ice block roads, strong winds sweep down from the mountains, and storms can trap residents and visitors alike for days. If you arrive without preparation, leaving early is often the only option. Supplies are limited, and the town's small population means resources like fuel, groceries, and medical assistance are finite. Locals live with this reality daily and move with a rhythm dictated by weather, terrain, and necessity rather than convenience. Despite the hardships, Whittier fosters a tight-knit community. Residents know one another intimately, relying on shared spaces for social interaction, support, and survival. For outsiders, the town can feel uncanny. An entire community contained under one roof, isolated from the wider world, with the environment serving as both protector and cage. Extreme isolation, harsh climate, and unique living arrangements create a sense of unease that visitors often underestimate. If you plan to visit, take the warnings seriously. Prepare for the weather, respect local routines, and understand this is a place designed for residents, not casual exploration. Whittier teaches a powerful lesson about human adaptation. A community can thrive under extreme conditions, but it can feel alien to anyone unprepared. It's a place where the extraordinary beauty of Alaska collides with the unyielding demands of isolation, and the experience lingers long after you leave. 2. Creepiest, New York. Arriving in Creepiest feels like stepping into a world separate from the surrounding towns. Streets are orderly, homes uniform, and daily life follows strict, deeply ingrained patterns. This is a highly controlled religious community, where every action and interaction is guided by tradition and rules that outsiders may not immediately understand. Visitors notice quickly that this is not a typical small town. There is a sense of structure, authority, and expectation that permeates every corner. The town is home primarily to a Hasidic Jewish population, and life revolves around faith, community, and adherence to religious law. Outsiders often underestimate how different the environment feels until they experience it firsthand. Clothing, behavior, and even conversation topics are regulated by social norms that may seem strict or unusual to visitors. Locals are polite but clear. Respect the boundaries, or your presence is unwelcome. Photography, lingering, or questioning routines can quickly draw disapproving attention. Walking through Creepiest, you notice the details that reveal how insular the town is. Businesses, schools, and public spaces cater almost exclusively to residents. The town's layout encourages interaction within the community while discouraging intrusion from outsiders. Even signage and street patterns reflect a town designed to maintain order, efficiency, and separation. For those unfamiliar with highly structured communities, the effect can be disorienting, the feeling that every movement is observed and subtly guided. Visitors must approach with awareness. Respect the rules, avoid lingering unnecessarily, and understand that your presence is temporary. Curiosity is natural, but failure to honor local customs is not taken lightly. Locals will often warn newcomers directly. If you cannot follow the expectations, it's better to leave quietly. Creepiest offers a glimpse into the power of structure and collective identity. It teaches that a community can maintain cohesion and safety through strict internal rules, but that life outside those rules can feel alien. For visitors, the town is both fascinating and sobering. It shows how deeply environment, faith, and social expectation shape daily existence. The lesson is clear. Observe, respect, and recognize that some towns guard their order as fiercely as others guard their secrets. 1 Marfa, Texas. Driving into Marfa feels like stepping into a wide, open canvas. Flat desert stretches in every direction, the horizon sharp against a sky that seems bigger than it should be. At first, it appears quaint: art galleries, coffee shops, and small motels of the town. But there's an undercurrent of mystery that lingers. Locals know that not everything here is as it seems, and their subtle unease sets a tone visitors quickly sense. Marfa is famous for the mysterious Marfa lights, unexplained orbs that appear on the horizon after dark. Tourists flock to witness them, but the experience is eerie. The lights seem to move with intention, appearing and vanishing in ways that defy logic. Residents treat the phenomenon with quiet respect, warning outsiders not to get too close or try to explain it. For them, the lights are part of the town's identity, a reminder that the desert holds secrets beyond ordinary understanding. The town's history adds to the tension. During the mid-20th century, Marfa was a military hub, home to installations and training grounds that remain in the surrounding desert. Rumors of surveillance, leftover bunkers, and unexplained activity persist. Some locals avoid certain areas entirely, refusing to discuss them with outsiders. Questions about these sites are often met with polite but firm deflection. For visitors, the mix of natural mystery and human secrecy creates an atmosphere that is both fascinating and disquieting. Walking through Marfa, you notice contrasts everywhere. Modern art installations sit beside historic buildings, desert landscapes stretch toward abandoned ranches, and the ordinary mingles with the inexplicable. The town feels alive yet cautious, as if it knows the stories of the past and the curiosities of the present are entwined. If you visit, approach with curiosity but respect. Don't wander off marked paths, avoid restricted areas, and heed local warnings. Marfa teaches that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, that beauty can coexist with secrecy, and that silence can be as powerful as sound. The town lingers in memory long after you leave, a place where lights move, history whispers, and the ordinary and the strange meet in the desert. These towns aren't cursed or haunted. The unease, silence, and tension are symptoms, not causes. What you're seeing in places like Centralia, Slab City, or Point Pleasant comes from systems failing, communities collapsing, and power going unchecked. Streets empty, homes decay, and isolation amplifies fear. Creepiness is the surface reflection of deeper pressures, economic, social, and structural. When communities lose population or oversight, ordinary life becomes unsettling. Every empty building, abandoned street, or off-limits area tells a story of neglect and survival. These towns are warnings disguised as curiosity, lessons in observation, humility, and respect for how fragile daily life can be. They show what happens when systems break down and human routines vanish. If any of these towns surprised you, hit like. Share with someone who loves road trips or hidden America. Subscribe for more explorations of abandoned towns, secret rules, and places most people never see. From decay to isolation, these stories aren't just entertainment. They're lessons in how places shape people and people shape places. Keep exploring, stay curious, and remember, the strangest places often teach the clearest lessons.